Hello, Master Duel Central. How's it going, guys? Today, I want to talk to you about Mathmech. Now, I just fell in love with Mathmech today. Honestly, I really wanted to try it ever since it came out, but I was like holding on to my gems for some reason. And at a certain point, I was like, bruh, I still don't have a Mathmech video on my channel. What am I doing? So I decided to build them today and learn them. So huge shout out to Pid2Sovs in my Discord. That's the guy that pretty much backseated me, taught me how to play the deck, showed me the deck list, gave me some tips on how to build the deck with the cards I had. It might seem like the most mayo build you can get for Mathmech, and honestly it kind of is. The only like remotely spicy thing we're running in here is Archfiend Eccentric, which I'm sure people are looking at like, what are you doing? But Pid2Sovs is a genius for this. You don't necessarily need your normal summon most of the time with Mathmech anyway, so your normal summon this card, you can tribute it to pop a monster. That has given me a lot of games, and more importantly, you can scale it up to pop a spell or trap. But that's not actually the reason we run this card. It's because it's an incredible bridge for Small World. For the most part, your bridges will be looking a lot of the time like Veiler into Eccentric to go get your circular, or a lot of the time you can also go something like Addition into Eccentric because they both have 1,000 defense to go into circular. So there's just so many ways to get from a card to circular using Eccentric, and I really think that Mathmech is the best deck when it comes to utilizing Small World. It's really at its best in this deck. I have never seen Small World be this good in a deck before. It's really incredible. Not to mention, this deck is extremely cheap, right? Like literally 3 main deck URs that you have to pull or craft. You can get the 3 Signet Mining just from the Salamangreat structure deck, and then in the extra you have you need the Yugioh Mathmech Final Sigma and the Alambertians. Everything else is pretty much staples or URs. Like you probably already have like a Unicorn, an Appaloosa, and an Access Code, right? So I don't know, man, this deck has just been so incredible. I've been having a great time with it. I think it's a lot of fun. So I just want to show you guys some gameplay, some replays, teach you maybe how to play the deck if you guys needed to learn the basics, and I'll give you a more thorough card by card at the end of the video once we understand how everything works a little bit better. But without further ado, let's get into some games here. All right, so we're currently in Plat 1. I'm gonna go get a nice little live game for you guys and just kind of talk over the gameplay, kind of give you an idea of the thought process while playing, and I'm gonna go a bit more in depth. I have some replays after to showcase the combos more in depth. I also have a good replay against Runick that I really want to show you guys because that is a pretty tough matchup sometimes, but it's really easy some other times, really just depending on if they have there can only be one. But we're gonna go for circular here and send the Sigma to the grave. That's like your main bread and butter combo, really. Then you can use the effect of Sigma in the grave, bringing it back here to trigger the second effect of circular. So since a Mathmech monster was summoned, circular's second effect triggers to search out a Mathmech spell or trap, and you always get the super factorial on turn 1. So we get the super factorial. Then we can use these 2 monsters to make an Alambertian. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are probably familiar with this combo by now, but I still want to take you through this step by step just because even though I've seen it a bunch of times, I still had to learn it today. It even helps at playing against it, right? So anyway, we activate the effect of Alambertian here, detaching 2 to search, and you pretty much always search the diameter when you have the circular combo with circular in hand. It's a 1-card combo, by the way. I'm going to show you guys, like, we're not going to be touching any of the other cards in our hand here to do this whole combo. We go diameter here, and we can bring back any monster from the grave. Does not really matter. So we're going to get the Sigma Male here, Sigma Male grind right now. And next, you've probably seen this a lot as well. We start off with a Link Disciple. And afterwards, we go into the Link Devotee. Here it is. So get the Link Devotee on the field here. Then we can use the second effect of Alambertian. And we can, it's actually the first effect of Alambertian. We can tribute a monster to special summon a Mathmech from our grave or hand. So again, doesn't matter which one you summon here. And then Link Devotee will trigger. Since it's been tributed, you can special summon 2 level 1 Cybers tokens. So we'll get our 2 tokens here. Boom, boom. Perfect. Now, I like, right after this happens, to make a Lingaribo. Some people will make their Cybers Wicked first, but I like getting that Lingaribo. Sure, if they had the Imperum, they probably already used it by now, but if they didn't, well, now they can't, right? So, better than nothing. We're going to go Cybers Wicked using the Alambertian as well as Link Disciple. The order is pretty important here because you do want to make the Cybers Wicked and then the IP Masquerena just so that you can get a search off of your Wicked. So summon the IP Masquerena here, and then we can use the effect of Cybers Wicked, banishing a Cybers from our grave. We want to banish the Alambertian. It's very useless in the grave, whereas the Devotee and the other Link can be pretty useful later if you use Access Code. So Wicked effect, we banish it, and we get to search out a Diameter. Diameter can special summon a Mathmech from the grave, as you've seen earlier, so it's a really good like follow-up on turn 3. So after that, we can go ahead and just pass turn after we set a couple of cards here. You set the super factorial, you set the called by the grave. We have silent mining here, not really useful, but could be useful on turn 3. And Nibiru and Ash in hand is really nice. As you can see though, if you're starting off with circular, you'll have a lot of cards left in hand because circular is literally a 1-card combo that sets up a super factorial with an IP Masquerena, with a Cyber's Wicked, with a Linger Rebo, and it's just insane, okay? So we're going to pass turn here. We're looking pretty great, I would say. The one thing I'm worried about is Amano Iwado. I've been seeing a lot of Runick players lately, especially today, just a lot of normal Amano Iwado, and that does make it a lot harder for us to play, especially if they go like normal Amano Iwado and then they set there can only be one. Oh, we're playing against this deck. So we're going to go super... Oh, wow. Yeah. That's going to be super easy. Yeah, I don't know about Adamantipator's, man. I think Mathmech is just too good right now. Like, honestly, I love Adamantipator's, but playing Mathmech today has made me realize just like... It's just so consistent. That consistency is so amazing. So we're going to go for a diameter here, go for a circular, and go for a sigma. We can summon all of them. Unless they have a call by. No call by. Okay, feeling good. Feeling great. So get all 3 of these. All 3 of these. And we'll make ourselves a Laplacian. Now, since we're using diameter as a material, Laplacian will also gain an Omni-Negate effect, which makes it so incredible because we're going to loop a card out of our opponent's hand, get rid of their Doki Doki before they get to use it, and we also have an Omni-Negate. So we go for Laplacian here. And the materials you detach, you always want to get your diameter and your sigma in the grave first. So if you're only using 2, you want to use those 2, just because they're a lot more important in the grave than your circular in general. Now, oh wow, actually Droplet is insane here. Droplet is absolutely incredible. They're going to go for 2 off Droplet. Okay, so here's what we can do. We can go called by. So they are going to negate our Laplacian, but we can go called by, and we'll turn this on here. Called by, get Block Dragon. Because they only discarded monsters, we can respond with a spell, and then we can use a monster effect. So what we can do is we can go IP Masquerena, using the Laplacian as material before they ever get to negate it with the Forbidden Droplet. We're going to make ourselves a Nightmare Unicorn, using the Laplacian, as well as the IP Masquerena. We still at least get the Laplacian effect, right? We should have probably went for like anything else than Unicorn, but it doesn't really matter. We still will get our Laplacian effect because they weren't there in time to negate our Laplacian. So we'll still get to loop 2 cards here. I don't think they'll be able to keep playing. So instead they negate the Unicorn and probably the Wicked. That's fine. Laplacian effect, loop 1 card out of the hand, and we'll get rid of the Doki Doki. That last card in hand best be like amazing, because unless that card is absolutely incredible, we're doing pretty great here. Okay, there we go. There is a lot of things to talk about with this deck. It's got a lot of little intricacies. It's very straightforward, but you can get a lot better and better at playing the deck over time as you learn more and more about it. It's a really fun deck though, and I think Circular is like one of my favorite cards in a long time. It's so satisfying to just Foolish Burial a Sigma for cost. Like the fact that they can't Ash the first effect of Circular is just amazing. Anyway, I got some good replays, so let's just get into those. All right, so for the replays here, I have 2 really good Runick replays I want to show you. One where I beat Runick going first, and one where I beat Runick going second. Now, keep in mind, there is one caveat, and I will say this. If Runick manages to resolve there can only be one before you summon a Linger Rebo or something like that, you're most likely going to lose. Like, we're all Cybers. Like, the whole deck is Cybers. So there can only be one. It's kind of a death sentence. If you want to run, like, some Cyclones maybe or some stuff like that just for that card alone, that's totally understandable. Me, personally, I don't really want to weaken the consistency of the deck for that. And honestly, I've been getting a good, consistent grind. You can't win them all. And sometimes when you try to put in some tech options for certain matchups or certain occasions, you just end up making your deck less solid overall for other matchups. With that being said, let's check out these replays. Okay, so for our first replay here, we're going to go for the going second since I just showed you going first with the live gameplay. So here's our hand. We've got 2 Silent Mining, 2 Diameter, and 1 Max C. And we're playing against Runick going second. Here's what they do. First off, they activate Performapal 5 Rainbow Magician. If you guys haven't seen this card before, it's really goofy, really dumb. Basically, I'll just explain it quickly. If you control no set spell and trap cards, you can't activate monster effects on the field. Kind of a weird card. I feel like it's both broken and ass, because it's kind of dumb that if your opponent has no spells or traps in their hand, they can't play using monsters. But at the same time, if you do, this card is completely dead and complete ass. So I don't even know how to feel about it. Just a weird card. Like, Runick players will literally stoop to any low, but it is what it is. So they go Card of Demise, draw a couple of cards, activate Terraforming here, get themselves a Runick Fountain. They're going to activate Runick Fountain and set a couple more cards and just pass turn here. So they've got 4 set cards and the Performapal 5 Rainbow. We'll start off by going Signet Mining, discarding one of our 2 copies of Diameter, searching out a Circular, and then we're just going to set the other Signet Mining so that we can activate our monster effects. Go Circular, sending the Sigma. They're going to activate Runick Destruction on our Signet Mining. Now this is kind of unfortunate because that means we don't have a set card, so we can't activate monster effects on the field. So we'll just have to set the Crossout Designator, unfortunately, which would have been really useful here because they're going to call by our Sigma, which means we can't bring it back from the grave, and then they're going to chain Smiting Storm. And we're going to chain Maxi because they go for the monster summon effect, and we're just going to get that free draw here. Now, this is not the absolute worst because we still can normal summon the Diameter, but the draw of Maxi helps us a lot. It's an addition, which is just a free summon. So just a summon of addition is going to be able to kind of replace that Sigma that was banished from the grave. Then they're going to go Runick Fountain, draw 2, going to normal summon the Diameter here and trigger the Diameter effect, special summoning the other Diameter from the grave. But they're going to go Freezing Curse, negating our Mathmech Circular, which is really not that big a deal here. I actually feel like that was kind of a misplay, but it is what it is. Like, it's not always evident what you should do against our deck, because there's a lot of plays happening in a lot of ways. We can play through a lot of interruptions, and we have a lot of different routes that we can go. But anyway, we make ourselves an Alimbertion, search out a Subtraction here. Then we're going to activate Subtraction, lower the attack of our Diameter, use these 2 monsters to make a Cyber's Wicked. Then we're gonna activate the effect of Alimbertion to special summon from the grave another card, and then we can use the effect of Wicked, banishing the Alimbertion to search a Sigma from our deck. Then we're gonna use the effect of Addition, targeting our Diameter, boosting its attack, and we can use these 2 to go into Update Jammer. Basically, at this point, I realized I didn't really have any chainables, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go Transcode Talker, get as much, different attributes in the grave as possible, and just make myself an access code and try to go for game. And it turns out to go pretty well for me. So, we make access code here. We use the effect of Update Jammer so it can attack twice. Then access code is going to boost itself up by 3,000 thanks to Transcode Talker. And yeah, we're going to use access code. We're going to start by popping the field spell in case they had a good spell or trap in the hand. Then we'll get rid of the back row since we don't want to deal with that. And then we'll use its effect again to get rid of the Munin. So that deals with the field. We can attack twice and just kind of go for game here, right? So, yeah, going second against Runick, if they don't have There Can Only Be One, I honestly feel like their interruptions are just not good enough for Mathmech. We have so many plays through interruptions. The deck is really, really good at that. So, definitely don't be too scared of Runick. Really, you're just going to have to kind of scoop it up against There Can Only Be One. But let's go into the other replay where we go first against Runick, just to kind of show you how we maneuver through their cards. All right, so here we go. This time we're going first, so you're going to see the same kind of basic circular going first combo that I showed you before. So, nothing new there. I'm still going to go through step by step. So we go Circular, send the Sigma, special the Circular, then we'll use the effect of Sigma in the grave to special it. When it's special summon, we can activate Circular to search out a Super Factorial. Then we'll use these 2, and we can make ourselves an Alimbertion. Alimbertion effect is going to trigger. We can detach 2 materials to search out the Diameter. Then we'll use the effect of Diameter, and Diameter is going to special summon back the Sigma, doesn't matter what we summon here. Using the Diameter, we're going to make ourselves a Link Disciple. Then using the other monster, we're going to make ourselves a Link Devotee. Then we're going to use the first effect of Alimbertion to tribute the Devotee in order to special summon from our grave another copy of Sigma. Doesn't matter who you summon with that effect. And we get ourselves 2 token. We're going to summon a Lingeribo. Then using these 2, we can make ourselves a Cyber's Wicked. Then we're going to use these 2 right here and make ourselves an IP Masquerena. So this is like as basic as it gets for our deck. We use the effect of Cyber's Wicked, banishing the Alimbertion to search out another copy of Diameter for the 3rd turn. Set ourselves the Imperm that we had in hand and the Super Factorial. So as you can see, if you don't count the Imperm, literally this entire board was all a 1-card combo off Circular. Entire combo here, and the Diameter in hand. And then everything else, the Ash, the Nibiru, the Imperm, that's all cherry on top. You generate so much advantage off of Circular, it's just insane. So our opponent goes Upstart Goblin, then they go Terraforming, and they get themselves a Runick Fountain. Now I kind of want to show you this stuff. So here they go Flashing Fire. So this is going to happen a lot. They go Flashing Fire to pop our monster. The thing is, you can't pop our monsters because we have Cyber's Wicked, and almost no one reads Cyber's Wicked. So yeah, Wicked will protect your monsters as well as itself from card effect destruction. So anyway, they're going to go for another Upstart Goblin, and then they're going to activate Runick Tip. I decide to Ash the Runick Tip. There's maybe better targets, worse targets. I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to use it here. I felt like it didn't really matter where I used it. And now they're going to go for Runick Fountain. and they're going to activate Card of Demise after setting 1. They're going to activate the Runick Slumber to target our Wicked, and we're actually going to go IP Masquerena here. The reason I do this, and I do want to explain this, as you guys might already know, Unicorn can get rid of the Runick Fountain, right? But if you go Unicorn after they've activated their Runick Slumber, it's going to trigger the Runick Fountain, but then you're going to shuffle back the Runick Fountain, so they're not going to get to do their like shuffle back cards and draw. So that's why we go Unicorn after the first spell they activate. So here we go, IP Masquerena effect. After their first spell, Unicorn is going to summon. They're going to get the effect of Slumber, and then triggers the Runick Fountain, but Chain Link 2, we get Unicorn. So discard a card, shuffle back the Runick Fountain, and they won't get their draws. So this is a really interesting and spicy way that you can play around Runick. They're going to activate a second copy of Runick Fountain, and again, we do the same thing. We wait for them to activate a Runick spell, and then we activate Super Factorial. And they're just going to scoop it up, but exactly the same thing would have happened. Super Factorial would have summoned the Laplaciant, and then Laplaciant would have gotten rid of the Runick Fountain before it got to draw the cards, right, as Chain Link 2. So it kind of, you know, it makes them a little salty. It makes the Runick player want to scoop it up a little quicker. So I'm all for that. I want those Runick players scooping as fast as possible, right? But anyway, let me take you to the card by card where I'm going to go a little bit more in depth now that you've kind of seen what the cards do. Okay, so here's the deck list. I really like this deck. I genuinely think this is like the best deck in the game right now. And maybe it doesn't have any of that extra spice like some people like to run Parallel Exceed or mix it with Ignisters or mix it with Salamangrate. You know, Parallel Exceed can be bricky. You know, I'm trying to minimize that stuff as much as possible. I think Pitasaw's build is really good. A lot of people also like to run that Heat Soul in there, and honestly, I don't really see Heat Soul really coming up in this deck much. There's almost never a time when I'm like, oh, I really wish I had Heat Soul right now. So I'm not really about that life. I'm not going to be running Heat Soul in this deck anytime soon. But let me take you through the card by card and maybe give some extra explanations for certain spicy cards in here. So we've got 2 copies of Valor, 3 copies of Maxi, 3 Ashes, 3 Imperms, you know, and the Nib. That's kind of our hand trap package. And like I said before, I think Ghost Bell is one of the most important cards to be running in this deck if you have it. So, you know, if you guys have the Ghost Bells, maybe remove like 1 Valor and 1 Imperm and run 2 Ghost Bells. Do something, but definitely run some Ghost Bells in there. I don't know what you want to remove, but definitely do that. Then we're running 2 copies of Sigma. Obviously, this is a card that you send to the grave with your Circular. So this is just a very like necessary card. Like, it's just integral to your combo, really. This is another reason you want to run Ghost Bells, because if they called by your Sigma or even DD Crow your Sigma, it can really hurt your combo. We've got 3 copies of Addition and Subtraction. These 2 cards are extenders, but the thing is, I've had many times where I don't have Circular in hand, and just off of having these guys, you can just like summon one, special summon the other, go into Alimbertion, search out your Circular, and get comboing that way, right? I definitely think running 3 is the right call. They can just save your ass on so many occasions. They're just so good. Next up, 1 copy of Mathmech Multiplication. This is a card I like to send to the grave with Circular if I already have Sigma in hand, because we can special summon Sigma from the hand, and Multiplication can be really useful on turn 3. If you normal summon Diameter, you can bring back the Multiplication, use its effect to make itself level 8 instead of level 4, and then you can go into your level 12 Geo Mathmech Final Sigma and just beat over something and pretty much go for game off of 1 single monster, because you'll get double attack and deal double damage with this card, thanks to this guy's Graveyard effect, which doubles the attack. If you don't really have access to your access code, you can always just try to go for a Geo Mathmech Final Sigma. This has come up a lot of times for me. Against Fluanderies today, I had a really good game where this totally saved my ass. I would have absolutely lost that game if I didn't have the Multiplication in the deck. We're running 3 Diameter. Sometimes, you know, they'll stop your Circular stuff and they're so happy, so proud, but you already have Diameter in hand, so you just search the trap with your Alimbertion instead, and you're feeling pretty good. So absolutely run 3 of this, absolutely run 3 Circular. This card goes without saying. It's a Foolish Burial for cost, right? Foolish for cost, which means they can't ash the first effect of Circular. This is honestly one of my favorite cards in a long time. Just the feeling of activating this card and they can't do nothing about the Foolish Burial effect sending Sigma. It just feels so good to use. 1 copy of Nibiru. Honestly, guys, I was wrong about Nibiru. Right now, I'm feeling like 1 Nibiru, kind of a must. Honestly, you want to go Maxi Challenge, you really often just want to draw into your Nibiru off of Maxi and just kind of make your opponent scoop from there, you know? So yeah, I think Nibiru is actually in a pretty good place right now. Obviously, it's kind of ass against Runick, kind of ass against Fluanderies, usually. but I still think it's worth running. Archfiend Eccentric, I did talk about this earlier. It's just the best possible small world bridge you could get in this deck. And there's even some times where I'm going to use my small world to go get the Archfiend Eccentric, just because that effect of destroying a spell or destroying a monster can be really useful when you don't need to use your normal summon. 3 copies of Sign of Mining goes without saying. It's just a searcher for any Cybers, right? So this is like 3 extra copies of Circular, basically. 1 copy of Equation. This is Monster Reborn for Mathmech, and it's searchable, right? So if you're going second, oftentimes instead of searching the super factorial, you're actually going to search the Equation as just a way to make sure that if your opponent interrupts your stuff, you can still get a monster from the grave and just keep going with your combo. 3 copies of Small World goes without saying. This is the best deck for Small World. There has never been a deck where Small World felt this good, in my opinion. 2 copies of Called by the Grave, 1 copy of Crossout, triple Impermanence, 1 super factorial, the best trap in the deck, and honestly, like, probably the second best card in the deck, and Mathmech Induction. This card is kind of like a win more card, I guess, but honestly, sometimes it's just really, really good to have that extra interruption. If you already have super factorial, then you can search the Induction, and, you know, it's kind of nice to have that extra pop, you know? So, yeah, I like that card. Maybe questionable. I would agree if some people told me this was questionable, but I like having it, and it did save my ass a couple of times, especially against Runick, actually getting rid of the Amano Awato. And now for the extra deck, we've got the Yugioh Mathmech Final Sigma, we got the Laplacian, which, you know, gets a card out of your opponent's hand and their field, and also their back row, pretty crazy. You want 2 Alimbertian for sure, 1 copy of Link Disciple, 1 copy of Link Devotee, 1 Lingaribo, 1 Cybers Wicked, 1 Update Jammer, IP Masquerena, Splash Mage, Unicorn, Transcode Talker, Appaloosa, and Access Code Talker. I would say this extra deck doesn't really have a flex spot. The only like debatable flex spot is Appaloosa, and honestly, I don't really like the idea of removing it because there are scenarios where they're going to force out your IP Masquerena. Like if they decide to imperm your Masquerena, you probably just want to go for like a 2 material or a 3 material Appaloosa just to get some monster negates, and that will absolutely win you games. It has won me games. I don't want to touch this extra deck. I think it's just perfect. With that being said, that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Make sure to subscribe. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the summer, and I'm sure we can do it. Yeah, leave a comment, like the video. Shout out to my UCT tier members. That would be Raptor, Bongerman for 20, Dad Do Joey, Huda Man Me, Right Toast, Rhett Webster, and Hit or Miss JT. Thank you for joining the UCT tier club. Okay, peace.